What's up everyone, welcome to the Business Blocks podcast. I'm Chris Manser, and on today's episode we discuss the best strategies to market your new business on a budget. Plus we'll have a look at a few of our hits and misses along the way in marketing our businesses. As always, I'm joined by Dale Kitchen of Tax For You. What's going on, Dale?
We just had a bit of XRP chat. We're just planning our millions and billions. I think we're all going to be rich by the end of this.
And what is XRP for pretty much the rest of the world?
Ah, yeah, that's right. It's Bitcoin sort of stuff. I think that's the easiest way to explain it. It's cryptocurrency.
Digital assets.
It's madness we just play around with and pretend we're rich for 5 minutes.
Yeah, emerging markets maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. A long way down the track.
It's interesting stuff. I mean, a spin-off on where it may go. I do think that Asic may start to use some type of blockchain for companies. I think that's something that we will see in the distant future, meaning that there will be public registers of blockchain for people owning shares. I think that's not too outrageous. But it's a long way off yet. Long way off.
Yeah, and definitely it leads into the connecting of information, which the government's goal is to have everything accessible to them and to be electronic.
And so what would it be? It'd be a big long list of everyone that's ever owned shares in a certain thing that's publicly available. Now, I don't know if the companies are going to want that, but the governments, I think, would be pretty interested in that kind of technology.
Yeah, anything to make their job easier at the tax office.
Yeah, but other than that, not a lot happening. We only just did the podcast a few days ago, so talking to we've got a client who's looking to sell to an overseas listed company, so we're just in discussions with them and just sort of helping them gear up for the sale, sort of look at what they should be doing, make sure they've crossed their I's, dotted their T's, all that sort of stuff. And other than that, that's not a lot else going on. What about in your world?
Not a lot, but on today's episode, we're going to be looking into getting advertising and brand awareness out for your new company. We'll sort of guide you through how to start in the online space for advertising, and also if there's still room for offline advertising and traditional markets of traditional media markets as well.
Yeah, it's a very, very quick changing area. And I think we touched on it in the first or second episode, that, websites are becoming even obsolete these days. You don't need a website to start a business. And it's probably, I don't think it's the first place to go anymore.
What would you say the first place would be? Would that be Facebook, or would it be another social media?
Depending on the business, I think a visual medium is always the best. Facebook is where everyone's at the moment. So getting if you could get onto Facebook and just get some followers and get the locals involved, you can sort of turn a local type business, such as a restaurant or childcare centre or something like that. You can really get some huge engagement, and for a small spend, you can get a pretty big bang for your buck.
Or even free. Simply putting up your own content to begin with. And certainly, again, depending on your industry, Instagram is hugely popular now and is probably a millennial version of Facebook, with the demographics changing a lot with most of the younger generation on Instagram. And exactly to that point, we've been looking at wedding caterers, and they're all over Instagram with how good their food is, and we're able to get an amazing insight into how they'll set up on the wedding day, what the photo will look like, and Instagram is full of their wedding photos each week, at weddings or catering.
Yeah, and it's that constant upload that sort of seems to get the result. You hit a lot of people with a lot of different tries, and all you need is, one or two people to call you back. But it's the new way of doing it. So you've got to sort of move into their world rather than them coming to you, which is, it's turned around the way things work.
Yeah, certainly. And it mainly comes back to just doing something. That's probably the hardest part. And we know, we've listened to several podcasts, and everyone's happy to give you macro information on how to do social media and what you need to post and how often. But it really comes back to you being able to do it and making a plan that is sustainable for you. So it may be only 1 or 2 posts each week, but if you can be consistent on that, that will grow over time, and you'll be able to advance to do more posts and just give the potential customers something they can rely on, knowing that you'll be posting regularly and you won't sort of go missing, and people start to wonder, is this business, what is happening? Are they doing well? Are they going out of business? Are they struggling? It just puts questions into the potential customer or existing customer's mind, whether if things are going well or not.
Yeah. What you do by posting on social media is you let people know what you're about. And I know with the childcare centre, most of the people watched Facebook for 3 weeks before they even came in, and they come in saying, we feel like we've been here. We feel like we've grown up with all the kids, and that is a huge hurdle to get across when you're trying to give people comfort about what you do. So especially with that sort of area, childcare, people can come in, they can really look through it. They can say, okay, they're doing that. Yep, they're doing that. Yeah, I really like that. I know the girls, I can check them out. I can go down into their Facebooks. So you can really get into the personality of the business without even meeting anyone, and that's the new way. So it's then getting the right content and the right image out. That's probably the harder part, and I think that's where we're playing around at the moment.
Is what's working and what doesn't.
Yeah, and what do we put out? Where do we put it? What is it? I think for what it's probably different to all people, but a podcast is really good for us because it's a long-winded sort of instructional type of thing, which is what we do. I think better would be YouTube. It's probably something that we'll probably look at in the next 6 months. But if you can take away the non-visual side of things, you get a lot more engagement and people feeling more comfortable. And then, in turn, that makes the phone start to ring. So, yeah, we're working on it. We've done a lot of... So we started blogging. How did the blogs go? They were sort of hit and miss.
Well, yeah. I guess to quite open, you could run through where we outsource some blogs and sort of the role they play.
Oh, yeah. So that was okay. So yeah, let's get right back to it. So we thought, we started off trying to get information out in the form of blogs. Now, it's a more traditional, formal type of media, and that's probably why we went with it. So we sort of sat down. We tried out a few overseas people to draft up the content. So you just give them a topic and you let them go. We also tried local people to draft up the content, but you never really got the quality that we were looking for, I think, and that's why we sort of started to bring it internally. But then it's the time. I mean, that's the other problem. It takes a lot more time to write an article than it does to ship out a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And it's self-awareness, and we're both not naturally, we don't enjoy necessarily writing and providing that content. So to do a podcast or even make videos is certainly something that we can use our strengths a little bit more and expose ourselves that way, as opposed to writing on topics. And actually that's one of the reasons why we got on a new graduate that we have. We've expanded our team to 33% growth in employees in the recent times, and that's Ryan's strength is in writing. So he'll be able to then use his strengths to move into a different area for us.
I think when you came on, it really started to open my eyes as to what this social media thing really was and how it was meant to work. Like I was of the opinion that the blogs were the way. You updated it, everyone would come to it. You get people coming to your website. The reality is you've got to go to them. So you've got to go to Facebook and put out the content on the Facebook and the Instagram and wherever else it is, and that then brings them to what you're doing. So it's an enjoyable thing, and even though it's uncomfortable, and I think that the time it took us to start the podcast sort of shows that if you really want it, you've just got to push through it, and it becomes easier and easier as it goes. It really does. So we start with the podcast. We're going to put out that regularly, and then look to just increase the places we push things, and hopefully use this as the basis for where people can sort of see what we're all about, and they can see how we work, our knowledge base, what's different about us, which you can't really convey through a website. Getting back to that. So websites are so two-dimensional that, in an hour conversation, which is what we sort of do on the podcast, you can convey so much more about what you're about. Yeah, exactly. That's why we're going with it.
Exactly right, yeah. And looking at websites these days, especially in our profession, it nearly comes across as if the same person has written every accounting or professional services website because of the same language and the same that we do this, we do that, and we're the best at it with no sort of backing.
Trusted advisor. Everyone's a trusted advisor. We do things differently, but at the end of the day, they're all processing the same numbers. It's sort of hard to explain that you do things differently if you forever describing exactly the same things, because you're always going to come up with the same result. Yes,
exactly. There's only so many options you have, and you use your experience to the best, but there's only so many opinions you can have on a particular issue, or there's only so many solutions.
Yeah, so I think we should probably get back and clarify. I mean, give people our opinion on where advertising should go. So what would you say is the best place, or how would you structure a advertising sort of campaign?
So my strategy would be, first off, is, as we know, Google is the biggest search engine. Everything's done through Google, and certainly mobile is taking a huge portion of that now. So first off, free is set up Google My Business. The Google My Business 100%. Page, it not only allows you to get a free website in that, which is nothing more than a basic information contact us page, but you also have access for any Gmail users to review your business and provide 5 stars, ratings and comments. And this is viewed by Google as a ranking system in a way of your business. So the more reviews, positive or negative, the more you are pushed up the rankings for Google.
Plus, it also links direct into Google Maps. So the ratings and also the posts that you put through are linked in with the searches. That's also linked with Google Maps. So if you're a local business, you can search local, and people see a quick snapshot of everything you're all about.
Yes, exactly right. And the goal is to get on that first page, and that's one way Google loves Google loves ranking Google pages. It's simple as that. So that's probably why the need for the website has deteriorated so much. To get your website ranked is extremely difficult now, just with the sheer volume of content across the internet, and not to mention these days the average internet user is using 8 to 10 websites or apps. They're not even exploring a lot of it.
We're doing SEO, and SEO is so slow these days. So I think, we're ranked on a few keywords, but what SEO is keyword ranking. So when you type in a search, let's say accountant Melbourne, into Google, that's all ranked by Google based on a certain algorithm. Now you can pay people.
Do you want to break that algorithm down?
I'd like to get rid of it, but what it sort of meant is that it's you. Okay, so you're ranked based on the quality of your content, the data that's put on your web page, so the keywords that are on your web page. So if you talk about, let's say you talk about mobile phones, and you say it 50 times in your website, Google crawls through the website and goes, okay, I think this is a mobile phone website. I'll start listing them on those keywords. And if you update the content and you keep adding that, and Google sees people coming to your website, searching those keywords and spending time, you slowly go up the rankings. Now, there's other things you've got to do, which is on-page optimization, which is structuring the web page properly so that Google can search it properly, which is there's an hour podcast in itself. And also just
speed,
making sure
speed of load.
Also putting, just creating a good web page. Google actually takes that as you're better than others. So it ranks you based on that. So the quality of backlinks as well. So what it is if a bunch of other pages are linking to your page and saying it's important, Google sees it as important. But also Google takes the quality of these other websites into account. So who's talking about you? So if the Prime Minister of Australia is talking about tax for you, that's an important conversation. So that's an important link. If the guy who sleeps on the corner down at the road's talking about you, it's not taken in such a high regard. So the algorithm at this point, or up to a few months ago while we were still looking at it, seems to work that way. But it changes. So, that may change again. They did change it with the introduction of Google My Business. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So boiling it down, I think SEO and websites are a decent long-term gain, and I think there is merit in having one, just as a sort of a presence. But go straight to Google My Business, set up an account, start posting there regularly, share posts on Facebook, and you'll get a bigger bang for your buck than you would anywhere else. And also Instagram, which I really don't understand.
Yeah, certainly. Well, if you look at Instagram, is very much the same as Facebook and LinkedIn. They're just content platforms. They're all owned by Facebook, and with the all same goal of creating revenue through advertising. So they're slightly different in one's text, one's pictures, and one's more of a video platform, but they're all the same deal. But just quick, Snapchat is a that's quite difficult because there is no it's good for your brand, but it's hard to get your brand out there if you have no exposure previously, because there is no feed necessarily. You've just got to. It's a great insight for your existing customers or your followers or groupies, but it's probably an advanced option for social media and content. But certainly it's growing, and it's definitely in America hugely popular and successful.
I mean, even leading on to that, Google or Apple features for developers is probably a huge thing. So
Yeah.
it's really just sort of getting the attention of everybody in a central place by getting on the feeds. So whether it's on a bunch of people's feeds in Facebook, or it's a mailing list full of people, which is still a viable option. I wouldn't buy a mailing list and cold email people. But I think if you can sort of, take down details of the people that are interested and regularly interact with them by sending them emails about your podcasts or, whatever it is you've done, pictures of cakes.
Something unique.
Yeah, and you've got to be there at the point that the person wants to buy. They might enjoy what you do, but not want it at that point in time. So, if you are constantly sort of in there and sort of popping up and they go, okay, yeah, I've got that wedding now. Maybe it's time to buy the cake. Maybe it's time to get go to that person I've been looking at. So it's just about getting out there regularly.
Yes, yeah, and it's picking what you can do and falling into it. Because if you build off, Google My Business, you've set that up. And also the second biggest search engine now is YouTube. So getting a presence on there would be ideal. The access people have now with camera phones and the quality is just amazing. So if you can do videos, depending on your business, if you can do videos, short videos answering questions or short videos interviewing someone, show them your shop, your warehouse, your workshop, whatever it is, put an insight into what goes on behind the curtain. And it certainly, it creates also a timeline as well. If you look at, for us, I haven't posted these videos, but I've taken videos of my current office setup, and again, in 5 years, we'll be able to look back at that and say, this is where we were to begin with, and look where we are now. And it just shows, it gives people, it sort of gives evidence to your story. You can say, we've been in business for 15 years, here's how we started, here's where we are now. And people see that you're genuine and
I think I've got photos of the original garage I started in. Or maybe I don't. I think I lost it. But yeah, no, it does come a long way. So would you say if I'm a home-based business, should I verify my address on Google Maps? Would you go yes or no?
Yes, I would do that to set up the location. There's a setting where you can say you don't take home visits.
Yeah, but it gives you a lot more presence in the local area. And for a small business, I think that helps a lot.
Yes, and another hack that you can use with Google My Business is actually when you upload a photo to Google My Business, you can set up the metadata of the photo, which is like the description. You can set the location up for it. So Google gives you more ranking points because the photo is a photo from Brunswick and your business is in Brunswick, and it ranks higher for that reason. I don't fully understand the algorithm, but it sort of sees that as more of a local. It's like local times local.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. So there's actually another algorithm that ranks the businesses on Google Maps. So if you've got more than, say, 20 businesses and there becomes a page 2, yeah, there's another algorithm that ranks all of that. And I'm 96.5% sure it's got something to do with Google My Business. Or if it doesn't, it will. Because that seems to be where Google wants to be pushing everything.
Yes. So, and then once you get to a certain point where you're starting to get traction, one thing I would say is get your friends and family to review you straight away. Give yourself a review, an honest review. Say that genuine business owner and looking to do things. Don't say that great service and make up a story. Just say that this is me and give a 5-star review. You can review yourself. And
ask everyone too.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, and genuinely ask. Say we would like a 5-star review if you feel like we've given great service. We're looking to improve our Google ranking. Like, if you tell them that and explain why you're doing it, more people are looking to help. That's the other thing. People love to help. And if it's not going to cost them any money, everyone has a Gmail account these days. It should be a pretty easy process.
But one thing that we noticed is the point that you ask for that Google review does change a lot. So we originally started asking for the review when the sending of the invoice. So once the job was done, we'd send out an invoice and say, hey, give us a review. And we didn't get a huge uptake in that. But once we started attaching it to the documents that people were after, we got it was a huge difference, because people were in a much better mindset then than when they were receiving a bill. So yeah, just think about when's the best time to ask, and it's just a link that you attach to an email generally, or some form of, maybe an invoice, preferably not, but when you send something to someone, just say, hey, check us out, give us a review, let us know what you thought. And people do it.
Yes, and even if you want to send a personalised email to say, hey Dale, thanks for working with us. We're great if you can give a review. The more you personalise something, the more likely are you to get a result than selecting 100 emails and saying, please give us a review. Here's the link. It'll take a little bit longer, but the returns you'll see will be probably in the 70 to 80% range, because they know that they're relied upon to give that help, and they're more likely to give it because they know that it's been directed at one person and not at 100 or 200 people.
Yeah, and it's not just a side note of an email, or it's the specific purpose behind what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. And you tell them why you're doing it. And most people don't live under a rock. They understand how the internet works these days, because you are asked to review just about every transaction you have in your day-to-day life. Even Coles and Safeway will send you an email to ask how your recent shopping experience was. So
at the 7-Eleven, they've got a rate your experience, because they've got one at the airport too.
Jesus, yeah.
It's everywhere. So, but that's probably the places to start, and that's probably the cheapest way. Well, it's free. The best way to get yourself out there. But what you'll soon find is that keeping up with all these extra duties does take up a lot of time, and we've had to put extra people on for that. So there are avenues like Freelancer or Fiverr or things like that, but it's very hit and miss. And even if you pay good dollars through those sites, you don't always get good quality. So we tried cheap, we got not too bad of a result. We tried expensive, we got pretty much the same result. It's okay without being great. So yeah, try it, see what you can do, but yeah, it is very hit and miss.
Certainly, I'd suggest getting a grounding in all the areas before you outsource, so you can simply track and see if the person is doing a good job. Or else you'll end up with rubbish, and then when they move along or you can't afford to pay them, you'll be in the exact same position you were before you even started.
So what would you suggest to someone for a website? Would they do that? Let's say they've done the first two things. Would you say then do a website?
Yeah, website. If you're going to be having content, you can using a WordPress website and a template for that. There is numerous YouTube videos. 30K, I think his name is. He's actually Swedish, but speaks very good English. He's where he provides really good website development videos that are very simple to follow, and you can get a basic website with a few pages in a couple of hours uploaded. And that's what I talk about. Having a grounding in what it takes to build a website allows you to then ask others to import, to take it to the next level. Ask a web developer to do a few certain things for you that may be coding or JavaScript related, but you're still able to post regularly, and make changes without having to call the IT guy every day.
Yeah, you've got to take some control. And I mean, unless you're coming in with a big bankroll, you've really got to learn everything. So YouTube, where else do you learn stuff? That's the only place I go.
Yeah,
Google.
YouTube for how to do thing videos.
Yeah.
Google give you breakdown of articles on different topics, and then podcasts if you want to. Podcast doesn't necessarily give you a how to do things, but it can give you more ideas on how to develop your website or your social media content. Certainly, a lot of what I've learned is from a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V on social media. He talks a lot about macro and sort of the larger picture of social media, and he freely speaks about this and provides lots of content, knowing the hardest part is action, is delivering, is presenting and putting things out. And he knows that he'll be able to talk about this for a long period because it's where everyone falls down, producing and actually executing on all this information. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I think I would say now in this year, you could learn pretty much everything from YouTube or Google. It's just the time it takes, and there's sort of a diminishing return once it gets a lot more technical because, it's, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes. And that's,
you get that grounding, and then you start to palm it off. Because I know that I couldn't do half the stuff that you do, and the stuff that Ryan's going to do, I don't even want to think about, but I understand how it works. It's just, but actually doing it, I couldn't, and I wouldn't keep up with it. So you do need to engage help as things get bigger.
And like the business plan we spoke about on episode 2, I think it was, the plan allows you to do things a lot more successfully. If you plan your social media, if you say, I just want to put 80% of my time into setting up my Google My Business, and then I just want to dabble a little bit on Facebook and Instagram, and then see what sort of reactions you get, and then you adjust that. And maybe you feel you want to move into YouTube. YouTube becomes your 80%, and you still maintain a presence on Google My Business and Facebook, but that becomes the 20%, and that's ever changing.
Yeah. So we've always allocated a portion of our day to growing and social sides of things, and I think doing that has kept us out of just running the business like 100% of the time, because it's quite easy to do when you're snowed to the hills. The last thing you want to do is the podcast. So you've got to make sure that every week you're doing something on the advertising side of things, you're doing something for the socials, you're learning something for the websites, or you're getting someone to do it for you. It's just the only way to grow.
Yes. You got to keep building the road in front of you, or you just keep getting to the end of the road. This podcast, it'll sit on the internet for the rest of time, I guess. We'll be up to
Jesus, that's
when we're up to episode 10, when we're up to episode 50, we'll be able to come back to episode 1 and say, listen to these jokers and think, what were they doing? How did they continue to put out a podcast when they sounded the way they did? But it's what
legacy.
You have to do.
This is what we'll be remembered for when we're long and gone.
Yeah, the podcast. Your great-great-grandchildren will be listening to this.
Wow. Jesus, I think I better pick my game up.
But you can only pick your game up with through practice.
Go to bed early, stay in school, kids.
Get a 9-to-5 job, and then you don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. Don't make the mistakes I made.
So I think that's probably what we'll just cover off for the day. And if we go into summary, Google My Business is the first place. Simplest to set up. There's 10 to 15 minute YouTube videos that we can link in the show notes that we recommend you listening to to get a basic setup, make sure that you register your address, and Google will send you a automated postcard with a confirmation code to confirm you actually live there. And then that will give you your location, and you can really start to exploit your area and start to appear on searches for Brunswick accountant or whatever your field of business is. Once that's set up, you can then also try out YouTube, put up a video, even if it's a selfie video with your phone. You may get 1 or 2 views, you may not. It just breaks the ice. That's what we've found. The first couple of videos we've since taken down, but putting them up, it breaks the ice. You see the process, you get comfortable with it, and you know that you're never going to be as bad as your first video. And then from there you can expand. And I'm sure everyone has personal Facebooks, Instagrams and Twitter accounts already, and LinkedIn. So even if you push all your stuff through your business page just gets pushed through your personal to begin with, you'll have a small following initially, even if it is just friends and family. So next week we'll be talking about the again, more free software. We'll build a free software stack that you can use. We'll look at some task management software as well as accounting software and bookkeeping to get you set up as well. For now, your customers are hopefully starting to bring the money in, and you're making some few purchases at least. So that's when you can start to claim your GST back if possible, and start to keep records of how your business is starting to track. Okay, anything else to add, Dale? That's it?
I think that's about it. It's good in the world of crypto. That's where my focus has been in the last few days. I'm not a billionaire yet, but I know when I'm going to be one. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Till we speak again. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for joining us today, and please execute on our advice. We can't stress this enough. Execution will put your business in a position to be truly successful. Also, drop us a line with any questions on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at tax4 and you, Melbourne, or send me an email at chris@tax4you.com.au. Cheers. Have a great day.